Welcome back, everybody. My name is Barry Johns, and today we're going to talk about picking that next microphone for your collection. So let's get to it. Okay, so depending on where you are in your journey for microphones, you probably have, at the very least, some relatively inexpensive microphones like an SM58 or an SM57. Probably the two most popular microphones for live use ever, and this is probably one of the most used microphones in recording studios across mankind. Okay, it's used from everything. It's a primarily #1 microphone for guitar amps, usually followed up, pairing it up with a ribbon microphone like a Royer 121. It's also the choice for the vast majority of the people to mic the top and the bottom of the snare on the drum kit. It just has a lot of universal applications. Actually, Van Halen's first album, the kick drum, was mic'd with an SM57. Now that is not something you typically use. Then you've got some microphones like a shotgun microphone. Okay, this is one of the first ones that I bought for my videography work. It's a Rode NTG 2 Plus, I think, if I remember that right, and it's around a little less than $500. And this was a mistake. It was a mistake. It's just okay. It's just so-so. I wouldn't recommend anybody buy it to get serious quality audio out of it. I think it's just pretty much borderline crap. Okay, so it's going to be going up for sale on Reverb. I just ruined my sale, but there's that one. If you look up there, you can't see it up there, but up there I've got a Sennheiser shotgun microphone that I absolutely love, but that bad boy was around $1,200, okay? Next up, you've got some broadcast microphones. Now, this is probably one of the most known. I have to imagine you already know this microphone very well. It's a Shure SM7B. When it was first introduced, it's primarily a broadcast microphone for like radio folks and things like that. And it's turned into a lot of universal applications. You see this on a lot of podcasts, Joe Rogan specifically, if you think about that. But it's also a great vocal microphone for the right voice. Michael Jackson used to record a lot of his tracks through an SM7B. So you don't necessarily have to spend a ton of money to get a great recording. The thing with vocal microphones is you're often going to be surprised which microphone works with a specific voice. But there's an SM7B. Continuing on with some broadcast microphone, this is a Royer RE20. This is another broadcast microphone. You either see this one used or this one used in most applications for that. But this also makes a killer kick drum mic, a fantastic kick drum mic, especially on the outside of the outside shell. Maybe put a D12 inside by the beater. But outstanding kick drum microphone, outstanding bass mic. If you're going to mic your bass amp, outstanding for that. Really captures low end. That's one of the things between these two, depending on what your voice is. If you've got more of a higher pitched voice, not a lot of low end in it, then you want to get this. If you happen to have too much low end to your voice, a lot of boomy voice, then you want to get this because this emphasizes the low end a little bit more than this one does. But they're both great for the studio as well as things like that. Then you've got, here's a relatively inexpensive microphone. This is modeled off a C12. And I think they call it, this is Avantone, by the way. And I think they call this, what's the girl's name? Oh gosh, I can't, starts with a T. Taylor Swift. They call this a Taylor Swift microphone. She loves singing through this microphone. I have to tell you, my voice sounds really good through this microphone. I think this is about a $500 microphone, comes with its own separate external preamp and a specific cable to be able to use with that. But a great choice when you're just getting into, kind of getting up to that next high level of microphone without having to break the bank. Then you got followed up by, we have an AKG C414. This is probably another one of the most commonly used microphones in the studio over history. Now, it's probably been replaced by some other microphones in the last decade or so, but it's still a fantastic microphone. Great for recording acoustic guitar. Great for some vocals. Fantastic for overheads. Good on a lot of stringed instruments, again with its acoustic guitar, mandolin, violin, fiddle, whatever you want to call that. and things like that. Just a really well-balanced, well-rounded studio microphone that's really kind of, if you want to have one microphone for a lot of different applications, this would be a good choice, all right? Now, oops, that fell over. Next up, this happens to be the Slate I think it's ML1, I can't remember what they call it, but it's a modeling microphone. And so what this does is Slate made a very pristine, clean, and clear microphone that didn't have any character on its own. And I'll be honest with you, I've used this mic just on its own, and it sounds great. But then they also paired up with their mic emulations, as well as their they've got a couple of mic preamp emulations. One of them being a Neve, the other I think is a Trident, or I'm not sure. But anyway, these things are kind of dropping on price. I think they're on sale right now for $4.99. And they're a great microphone. Now, I have used the Townsend Lab ones, and Townsend Lab was recently bought up by Universal Audio, so it's going to be interesting to see where they go with that particular microphone collection. But it does a much, how many muches can I say? Let's put that much infinity, a better job than this one. This does a great job, and it's a great bang for the buck. The other one's more expensive, but does a better job in my humble opinion. You've also got here's another mistake. Now, I won't necessarily call this a mistake so much, I bought this to do when I was doing remote recording. I needed something up fast. It's got a hot shoe mount on the top of a camera. It's another, Rode shotgun microphone. But if you're vlogging or something like that, then this works fantastic. This does a great job for that. You obviously don't want to put a really long boom mic or shotgun microphone on the top of a camera. It'd be hitting you in your forehead while you're trying to vlog. But anyway, shotgun microphones are also great for acoustic instruments. They're good for overheads. They're not really good for vocals. They don't handle high SPLs very well. But so anyway, that's kind of a collection of just some I've got laying around here. I've got probably another 10 or 12 different microphones here in my studio that I've amassed over the years, but a lot of them just kind of set and never hardly ever get used. For me, I primarily do vocals and acoustic guitar recording here. I also have a Shure SM81 laying around, a pair of those, and also a pair of Peluso small diaphragm condenser microphones that I use for both overheads as well as acoustic instruments. And those are modeled after the Neumann KM84 or K84, I can't remember what they call it, which is probably the most common, but they're pricey. Now, the question you've got to ask yourself when you're upgrading a microphone, because this is a rabbit hole that you can go down and sometimes never come out of. You've got your standards out there like a Neumann U87 or U67. You've got the Sony 8000, which is really big for a lot of hip hop folks. So those are some of the premier, everybody kind of wants to experiment with those. You've got an AKG-C12, the old version of it, the original version of it. Those are high demand. Those are probably 10 to 12 grand on the used market these days. And then, of course, you've got a lot of what I'm going to call high-end clones. You've got Peluso microphones. They do a great job across the board. I don't love every one of them, but I've owned quite a few of Peluso microphones. Again, I own the one stereo pair, small diaphragm condensers. Perlman makes fan-freaking-tastic microphones. And they make great clones. A TM1 is an excellent microphone to get into for your first high-end microphone. And then if you really want to go up to that, go up to their church microphone, and then you'll be done. You'll just stop ever looking for microphones again, and that'll be the one that lasts forever. But that's going to be the one that hits your wallet for about $5,000. So again, let's kind of bring this back down, and let's dial this back somewhat. Because this is a rabbit hole, as I said before, that you can chase and fall deep into that hole. And so you've got to ask yourself, what is it you're trying to achieve? What are the main things you're trying to record? And what is your budget? Because certain microphones, you can buy them. Like you can buy a 414 on the used mark. You can buy used or new, and used later on sell it. You'll probably still retain about 80% of your value. You go out and buy something like this particular microphone, which is a great microphone, but you're going to lose 50 to 60% of your value the minute you walk out of the store with it. Again, these two, they don't hold their value very well, although they're really a great microphone for the price that you pay for them. But so you've got to think about some of these things in which direction you're going to go. Large diaphragm condensers, aka this, this one here. You know, those are probably the most popular. If you're getting one great mic for your studio, you're probably going for a large diaphragm condenser that can work great on acoustic instruments. They can work fantastic, actually the go-to type microphone for for vocals and things like that. These days, a lot of people are using modelers like I do. I've got a Kemper right here that I use mainly for 99.999, all my guitar tracks, let's just say that, electric guitar. I also run my bass suit. I've got profiles of various bass amps in there as well. So I don't really need mics anymore for that. I don't mic guitar amps anymore unless I'm recording somebody else. And I usually try to get them to go into the Kemper first, at least get the scratch takedown, and then I'll come back later and reamp through whatever amp they want to ultimately have as their final one if they don't want to use the Kemper for whatever reason. But I don't find myself doing that very often. Obviously, I have to pull all my mics together and do a collection when I'm recording drums. So again, it depends on your application. So for the sake of this discussion, we're going to talk about you're really trying to upgrade and have one really solid mic that's universal for you and your project studio and in your situation, and that's going to be primarily a large diaphragm condenser, okay? So, you've got the entry-level budget out there, and let's call that the sub $500 price range. And I'm putting that in the entry-level category. There's a lot of cheap, inexpensive microphones out there that they've made to look really cool. And I'm going to tell you that's exactly what you're getting. I would tell you, with the exception of a couple, like I said, this is borderline right at the $500 price range. An SM7B can be, depending on your voice, can be a great choice. That's I think around $350 to $379, something like that. But if you're looking to get a little bit above that, I think that's when you're really going to start to get more bang for your buck. Now, lately, over the last few years, we've seen some incredible clone microphones enter the inexpensive market. You've got Stam Audio making clones. You've got the most common known Warm Audio making some excellent microphones for the price that I would argue that are so close to the original, it's hard to justify that extra money to go for the original, even though I will say, let's say you get the U67 clone or the U47 clone of Warm Audio and you compare that to an actual U47 or U67. And yes, those Neumann microphones are going to be better. Depending on the vocal will be slightly bigger. But can it justify that cost going to that extreme, or would you rather have 3 or 4 great clones that are 95% there? That's what I would choose to do if I'm in the project studio. Now, if I'm taking this serious, I want to make money, and I'm making a record that's going to be streamed 1 billion times out there on the streaming services, then I'd say spend a little bit more money. So I would say forego this idea of going, especially if you haven't done this before and you really don't have much experience with it. I would just say don't even consider the over $1,000 category. That is a fantastic category, and you can do fantastic things and buy fantastic microphones in that price range, obviously, because you get what you pay for to a degree. But I think most project studio users out there should probably lean towards the Warm Audio, the Stam Audio, Lewitt. Oh my gosh, Lewitt is talking about 414. I would pick the Lewitt version of the 414 over the AKG, and the Lewitt is half the price. Okay, and so they make fantastic. Mojave's got some really great microphones in that $500 to $1,000 price range. Some really great ones. But so for the most part, I think you look into that category, you dive into that. I think you can't go wrong with any of the Warm Audio stuff. I would probably start there. If you're doing for other applications, look at the Lewitt stuff. But definitely between Lewitt and I don't know if I'm saying that right. That's how I think it's pronounced. But you've got their microphones as well as Warm Audio, and of course I'm missing some out there. If you're already kind of experienced and you've already been down that road, and you like what you're getting, but you happen to be dealing with a variety of different voices. A lot of us are just recording our own voices in our studio, and so we find a microphone that matches up with that. Now, I've owned $4,000 microphones. I've owned $2,000, $1,000, and $500, and $99.99. And to be honest with you, for my particular voice, out of all of those, my voice sounds best on an SM7B or this little Taylor Swift microphone. Okay, that's what my voice sounds best on. Now, I have a little bit of a nasally voice. I tend to, when I EQ my voice for these videos, take out quite a bit at 1K, get rid of some of that. But when I'm singing, I don't tend to have a low voice unless I'm singing an intimate song, and then I can actually get quite low with my voice. But my natural talking voice is not like that. My natural singing voice is not like that. So I want to pair what's right for me. And that's another thing you've got to consider. Are you pairing a microphone specifically up for you or a specific singer, maybe a singer in your band or whatever, or somebody else you work with? Or you pair it up with that person? Outside of that, if you're going to find that you're recording different vocalists and things like that, and you're going to record a different variety of acoustic instruments, then I'd say it's probably worth the money to invest in something like the Slate as an example, if that's your first go into it. And if you've got a little bit more money, if you can fork out the $1,200 or $1,300, I would say go up to the Townsend Lab, because that thing does a fantastic job in what it does. Okay, and so I would say consider those two. But if you know it's just a one voice thing and you just really need one, I would say probably go with a Lewitt, a Mojave Audio, or certainly a Warm Audio mic. A lot of those are fantastic. When we get over in the $1,000 price range, I have a completely different opinion on a lot of that. I've also I've had some great successes, but I've also had some that really disappointed me, and maybe that'll be another video later. So, I already did a video before. Actually, I recorded it before I recorded this today, aka same shirt. But that really talks about which comes first. Do you buy the microphone or the microphone preamp first? If you're trying to upgrade your studio. And in that video, it was not even a question. You get the microphone first. So once you find that right microphone for yourself, then you want to pair that up with a great microphone or a great mic preamp. Oftentimes a Neve clone is fantastic for that. It's just a great starting point if you can get something like that. And there's a lot of people out there that make great Neve clones. Audioscape makes a fantastic one. I've got a Great River one over there. I also have the Warm Audio channel strip that you can't see that's over here. And then I have the Heritage Audio HA73 EQ that has a Neve microphone preamp as well as an emulation of the Neve EQ all into one. So I've kind of got that in two different flavors between the Warm Audio and the Heritage Audio. But then again, I've also got an ODigi pre back over here that's an 8-channel microphone preamp that is okay. It's okay. It's perfectly fine for drums, and that's what I use it on when I use it, and things like that. Now, I happen to have in my Avid Carbon here. It has eight incredible freaking microphone preamps. If you don't need now, if you have, and that's one of the advantages when you get into higher end interface is you're going to get much better microphone preamps with much more headroom, much more dynamic range, low noise floor, all of those things. That starts to add up when you get into a heavy one. So if I'm looking for non-colored, in other words, if I were recording drums today, they would go into that first. If I needed anything beyond that, then I'd go to my other mic preamps. Of course, I'd use on my kick drum and my snare, I'd use my Great River mic preamps or my Warm Audio anyway, a 312 clone. I can't think of it for whatever reason right now. So anyway, consider these things, and I think you'll find a good choice for a microphone. Again, I think you can't go wrong with Warm Audio. You can't go wrong with Lewitt. Can't go wrong with Mojave Audio. I think you look at those things, but if it's me and I'm picking one particular brand out of all of those and it's a large diaphragm condenser, I'm going with a Warm Audio, okay? So I hope you like the content I talk about on this channel. If you do, hit that like, subscribe, notification bell. It's down below my finger somewhere because I put it there after I record this. That's how I know it's going to be there. And plus, I encourage you to go out and look at some of my other videos. Check them out. I think, I try to do things kind of like this video, give you things to think about, things to consider so that you can make the best decision for you. Because there's no way I can tell you which microphone to get for your voice. That's impossible. We don't have a connection. We just got a video connection. Now, if you want to send me a sample of your voice and tell me about your challenges, I might be able to help you at least figure that out. But still, that's complicated, okay? It's very complicated. So if you can get in a situation where you can go out and try these things out, a lot of vendors out there have a return policy. You buy the mic, you don't like it, you return it, okay, and you try something else out. Be responsible with that if you're going to do it. You'd want somebody to treat you right, so treat those dealers out there right and don't take advantage of them. But anyway, always buy used if you can. You can save a lot of money if you buy used, so go out there and get it done. So until next time, have a happy singing and through a great microphone day. Why don't you out there? Let's get it done.